Okay, I do believe we are live.
Woohoo.
Hello, everybody. I am here tonight with Rachel Wyffels, who we'll introduce in just a moment. I am Sarah Weaver. Once again, I use she, her pronouns, coming to you from Minnetonka, Minnesota, in the Minneapolis area, on lands of Dakota, Bidota, and Ojibwe nations. I am the Special Projects Coordinator for ELCA Young Adult Ministries, and I am very excited to once again be here with you for No Plastics for Lent webinars. This week is week 4 of No Plastics for Lent. And before we get into introductions and our interview tonight, I want to again invite you to this initiative to find a sustainability practice that's accessible and meaningful for you. No Plastics for Lent is led by young adults across the church, and it invites us into specific ways to care for creation, lament the ways that we've caused harm to the earth, and take action. Along with these Monday night webinars with some of our fantastic speakers, we also have Zoom small groups that you can join on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays, Wednesday meditation and reflection, and Fridays Ask a Plastics Engineer Answers. And tonight we have Rachel joining us to talk about her work as a Hunger Advocacy Fellow. So Rachel, we're glad to have you here, and why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, super glad to be here, Sarah. Hi, everybody. My name is Rachel Wyffels, and I'm a Hunger Advocacy Fellow at Lutheran Advocacy, Minnesota, and I'll tell you more about that in just a minute. My pronouns are she, her, and I am just up 494, about 10 minutes from Sarah in Plymouth, Minnesota, which is where I'm from, on the land of the Dakota people. I've been in touch with young adults before, but my job as a Hunger Advocacy Fellow led me here tonight, and I'm excited to talk about the relationship between No Plastics for Lent and faith-based advocacy.
Great, thanks, Rachel. Yeah, I always forget you're literally 10 minutes away from me.
I know.
That's so great. Yep. So Hunger Advocacy Fellows, what is that program? Can you give us an overview and specifically the work that you are doing within the program?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I first heard about the Hunger Advocacy Fellow program at a young adults event in Tallapoosa, Georgia. The young adult discernment retreat back when we still had in-person things like that, and I know that'll happen again. But so the Hunger Advocacy Fellow program is a one-year fellowship program, and it's geared towards young adults. There are about 4 positions a year around the country in various locations. There's always one in Washington, D.C., but this year we have Minnesota, which is where I am, New Jersey, and Texas also. And I don't know that they've decided for sure on next year's, but you can check on that. We're connected to ELCA World Hunger. So the focus of my job is on hunger and poverty advocacy at a legislative level. So a Hunger Advocacy Fellow is placed in the State Public Policy Office to augment its work. And state public policy offices work on legislative matters. So like how laws are written, how housing laws are written, how clean energy legislation is written. And so what we do is we go around to congregations, sometimes in target areas, and just we educate people, we talk to people, we love to have conversations with people to mobilize those networks, to talk to legislators and work for this change. That's based on our faith. And ELCA advocacy is really unique in that we have a voice at the state level in a way that some of our very close ecumenical partners don't. I mean, they have awesome national ministries, but that's something that makes us really unique and really special. So as to what advocacy is, basically it's supporting a cause with and for those who are impacted by it. So it's really important to us that our advocacy is accompanimental rather than speaking for and on top of someone else. So I am placed at Lutheran Advocacy Minnesota, which is a ministry of the 6 ELCA synods in Minnesota. We have a policy council with membership that represents those synods, and they help set our legislative priorities. And our primary work is on hunger, housing, and climate change. So I work a lot on housing legislation, especially. We work in coalitions, and I've had some really great experiences with eco-faith networks around our state.
Great. Wow, look at all that awesome stuff that you get to work with this year. That's amazing. And all of the connections and the people and the programs that you get to work with and see is just incredible. So that's so exciting. I hope you're enjoying your time as a Hunger Advocacy Fellow as well.
I am. It seems like in September, I was like, whoa, this whole year. And now it's March. And I'm like, what? How is it
Right.
March? Also, if you want to learn more about what it's like to be a Hunger Advocacy Fellow, feel free to email me, rachel.wyffels@elca.org, and you can see the spelling of Wyffels on the screen. I know it's a little confusing there, but
Yes.
if anyone's interested.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Rachel. Love getting more young adults connected to this amazing program. So speaking about more about you and your personal relationship with creation, what ways are you passionate about the work that you're doing, specifically with how it connects to environmental justice?
So I love the different types of people I get to work with from all different places and walks of life. And one example of that being that I got to go to the Walker Farm with the St. Paul Area Synod Care of Creation team. And so the Walkers are in and leaders of the regenerative agriculture movement, and they're based in Princeton, Minnesota. You can look them up, learn more about them. And they're lifelong Lutherans, members in Princeton, where my friend Callie works. And so that was really an example where I personally got to see the work of regenerative agriculture and creation care in action. Right. And one moment that I remember being really amazing is when they, they moved the cows. And, people usually think, oh, moving cows, that requires like horses and dogs and everything. And the way the walkers do it is kind of the weeds, I should not say weeds. The plants grow up because this is how the way that regen ag often works. And so all they had to do was move one little line and the cows charged. They didn't need any encouragement. They charged because they wanted the new grass. They wanted, yeah. So I just think it's a really good example of creation, working symbiotically, working in that relationship that we were created to be in. I'm also particularly interested in the work of just transition. And so a lot of times when people are opposed to clean energy, they have really important worries about the vitality of rural areas. And so one thing that I have learned a lot about this year that I want to continue learning about is how do we transition our fuels in a way that support rural people and rural economies in ways that are just. And so a lot of that is like clean energy jobs. How do we direct clean energy jobs at a legislative level towards these areas and generate income in those areas? So,
right.
And more generally, aside including environmental things, I'm passionate about the ways that healthy societies and economic systems should support everyone. They should support the health and well-being of all of us who are a part of it. Yeah. And housing in particular that I work on show how this is not the case. And we have a lot to work on. It's particularly true in Minnesota and in the Twin Cities.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's awesome to hear about how these passions and what you're passionate about and what you care about and how you're able to find that and experience that in the work that you're doing. So it's very cool to hear you talk about this. And then do you have any spiritual practices yourself that keep you grounded in this justice work that you're doing?
I do, yeah. And I think it's always important to be taking those breaks because it is constantly exhausting in a lot of different ways. Yeah. So I'm a violinist and I love to sing as well. And so those are two really important ways that, number one, I connect to my body. Like I love to just go play scales on the violin and just close my eyes and feel the way that my body is creating that music, and certainly in voice too, the way that a relaxed body makes joyful sound is a really cool experience. And I do breathing meditation every day. So that helps me with, I work on acceptance in the moment, and that's been a really important thing for me. I am listing knitting as a creative spiritual practice too. And that's because, number one, I love the creativity of it. of the yarn and the patterns and thinking about the animals the yarn comes from. I have too much sheep memorabilia because it happens to all knitters somehow. It just does. And I also, about half of my knitting is gift knitting. And so for people who are really special in my life, I love to take that time. It's kind of like a prayer shawl to really, of course, it's a gift to them, but it's also a gift to me to think about all the things that they've meant to me and that we've done together. So, and my dog, Bjorn, he's awesome. And there is a little bit, I think, of creation mysticism. And you look at how animals are made and how people are made and the ways we support each other. And that's a pretty amazing thing. So.
It is. I agree. I have my two dogs sitting behind, or my one dog and a dog sitting behind me. So just feel the comfort coming from them right now.
On my walk today, this was so funny. We had this biker coming and he had his face just kind of like, you know, but then he just turned to us and he looked at Bjorn and he goes, woof.
Oh my gosh, yes, they have such personalities and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Love them. And also great to hear. I do embroidery as well. So I love the same thing, getting to create something. So we talk about like, there's a sustainability aspect where you're not buying something new to give to somebody, you're creating it with this yarn and the pieces that you're putting together for something. And also just the thoughtfulness behind that. So that's awesome. Yeah. Love it. I do the same things. It's such a good way to, it's such a good spiritual practice. I don't always think about it that way, but it is. Yeah. Exactly. All right, and now talking about intersectionality, which you have gone into a little bit, talking about housing and the different ways that you have worked in environmental justice with Hunger Advocacy Fellows. What do you want people who are watching this video to understand about the impacts of climate change and to remember during Lent?
Well, one thing that really has been on my mind this last week as I got to be a part of CSW 66, which is the Commission on the Status of Women through the UN, is the disparity in how privileged countries are going to be able to respond to climate change in a way that affected countries that really have not contributed to climate change are not going to have. So like we are going to be able to, hopefully in the United States, we're going to have ways that we, fund FEMA and some disaster mitigation, but poorer countries, the effects of which we have caused are not going to have those things. So that's the first thing I would say. Climate has everything to do with race because those countries are disproportionately Black and brown, and it causes food access problems and migration, climate migration, people having to leave their homes. So that's one thing that I would lift up. Another thing is that I've really learned throughout my journey is that confession goes beyond a personal theological conviction. And, one question we have to think about is how are we systematically going to confess our society's role in climate change and seek reconciliation, because we have all done this as a collective society. We've made these choices that have led to climate change and are going to lead to increased human suffering and the suffering of all creation. And so in thinking of how we're going to reconcile and how we're going to move forward, confession and truth telling are really important parts of that. Another thing, going without plastics is really hard. I've tried to, and you go to the grocery store and it's like, I really want this today, and I go look for raspberries, plastic container. But it's not meant to be discouraging, and I think it's supposed to show like what's before us, and also the issue of shared responsibility, because individual choices matter, but sometimes at the end of the day they're not going to win the day because of these large systemic issues. And plastic is a really interesting area where I think those two things intersect, because personal choice does matter. And then also we have to ask what on a systemic level is going on with the continuation of fossil fuel use and how we dispose of our waste. And so it connects to those broader advocacy issues. And the last thing that I want to tell you about, I guess this goes beyond the scope of the question, but if you want to get involved in advocacy who are watching, Young Adults is partnering with us to promote scholarships for ecumenical advocacy days. And so that's ways that we can join with our ecumenical partners to advocate for these things of faith that we care about. So scholarships are available. Please apply. It's going to be really exciting days. So.
Yes, thank you for that plug. Very good. I love all these opportunities that we're giving to young adults. It's so great. And to be able to partner with ELC Advocacy, like you said, that's how I met you and all the other Hunger Advocacy Fellows. So just love it. Great. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No, that's great.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rachel. It was great talking to you tonight. Thanks for showing us your passion and sharing about your personal connections to creation care work through your time at Hunger Advocacy Fellows. I'm excited to see what you do afterwards. I know you're going to seminary as well, so that's very exciting. And I hope you just continue this great work and continue to find ways that you can be passionate about it.
Thank you. You too. And I look forward to keep connecting.
Yes, definitely. All right, Rachel and everyone, good night. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.